The old clock on the mantelpiece ticked a soft, steady rhythm, a sound as familiar to Alara as her own heartbeat. Outside her cottage, the world was draped in a blanket of deepest blue, and the first, bravest stars were beginning to prick the sky. Alara was the keeper of the starlight, though if you asked anyone in the nearby village, they would just say she was the nice old woman who lived in the cottage on the hill and knew the names of every flower. But Alara's true work began when the sun went down. She moved slowly around her small home, lighting a single beeswax candle whose flame danced without flickering. The air smelled of dried lavender, chamomile, and a faint, sweet hint of vanilla. She poured herself a cup of moonwort tea, its steam curling into the air like a lazy ghost, and settled into her worn, comfortable armchair by the window that looked out over the sleeping valley. Her purpose each night was simple but profound: to help the stars shine their brightest. You see, stars don't just shine on their own. They gather their light from the happy, peaceful, and dreamy thoughts of sleeping beings below. And it was Alara's job to collect those thoughts and gently send them up. She closed her eyes, not to sleep, but to listen. Not with her ears, but with her heart. The first thoughts began to drift in, soft as dandelion fluff. She felt the contentment of a little boy named Leo, finally asleep after a day of adventure. His thought was a warm, golden feeling, smelling of freshly baked cookies and clean sheets. Alara smiled, gathered the golden warmth in her hands, and whispered, "For Cygnus, the swan, flying high in the north." She blew gently, and the thought floated out the window, rising faster and faster until it merged with a bright star in the swan's wing, making it twinkle merrily. Next came a soft, silvery thread of a thought. It was from an old man, remembering a dance long ago with the love of his life. The thought carried the faint sound of violin music and the scent of night-blooming jasmine. "For Vega," Alara murmured, her voice a soft sigh. To keep her brilliant and constant, the silver thread spiraled up into the heavens, strengthening the blue-white beacon of the Lyre constellation. Thought after thought came to her. A baker, dreaming of perfect, rising dough, a yeasty, wholesome thought she sent to the constellation of Taurus. A young artist, dreaming in swirls of color, a vibrant, creative burst she sent to the great nebula in Orion, fueling its cosmic paints. The night deepened. The clock ticked on. Alara's work was a gentle, rhythmic ritual of receiving and giving. The cottage was a silent hub in the quiet night, a place where the dreams of the earth met the fire of the heavens. But then, something changed. A new thought arrived, but it was not like the others. It was sharp, gray, and tangled. It felt like worry. It was from a woman named Clara, who lived in a house at the edge of the village. She was lying, awake, her mind racing. She was worried about a conversation she'd had that day, anxious about a task she had to do tomorrow, her thoughts going in frantic, endless circles. The gray, knotted thought buzzed in Alara's hands, refusing to be shaped. If she sent this up to a star, it wouldn't feed it. It would dim it slightly. The stars needed calm, not chaos. Alara knew what she had to do. This was also part of her keeping. She couldn't just collect the good thoughts. She had to sometimes gently unravel the difficult ones. She held Clara's worried thought carefully. She didn't fight it. She simply breathed onto it, surrounding the sharp, gray edges with the calm, lavender-scented air of her cottage. In her mind, she began to weave the worry into something else. She took the thread of anxiety about tomorrow's task and imagined it was simply a path through a quiet forest, a path Clara would walk easily when the sun rose. She took the worry about the conversation and imagined it was just a misunderstood set of words, soft and light as feathers, that would blow away on the morning breeze. Slowly, patiently, the gray thought began to soften. Its sharp edges smoothed out. Its frantic buzzing slowed to a gentle hum. Alara mixed it with the peaceful thought of a sleeping cat purring on a windowsill nearby, and with the steady, rhythmic thought of the tide pulling back from a shore far away. The gray thought transformed. It was now a soft, lavender-gray color, peaceful and accepting. It was no longer a worry, but a quiet understanding that things would be all right. "For the gentle stars of Corona Borealis," Alara said. "The crown that needs patience to shine." She let the new, calm thought rise, and she watched as the faint constellation of the northern crown glowed a little more steadily, its semicircle of stars a delicate tiara in the sky. Down in the village, Clara, who had been tossing and turning, let out a deep sigh. Her breathing slowed, matching the rhythm of the old clock on Alara's mantel. A small smile touched her lips as she finally, properly, fell asleep. Her dreams were now of quiet forests and gentle seas. The crisis had been averted. Balance was restored. Alara took a sip of her now cool tea. The great clock showed that the deepest part of the night had arrived. The flow of thoughts was slowing. The dreams below were now deep and settled, the thinkers journeying far into their own inner worlds. The last thought that came to her was the simplest, and perhaps the most powerful. It was from a newborn baby, who knew nothing of words or worries. It was a pure, warm feeling of safety and love, a soft, red glow that pulsed gently like a perfect little heart. Alara held it, and it filled her with a deep, profound peace. "This one is for the moon," she whispered, "for though she borrows her light from the sun, she needs our love to make it so gentle." She let the feeling drift not to a star, but to the moon itself, which that night was a delicate silver crescent hanging over the valley. It seemed to glow just a little softer, bathing the world in a merciful, dreamy light. Her work was done. Alara leaned back in her chair, the gentle weight of a long night's service settling upon her. She watched the constellations, now bright and confident, twinkling their thanks. The swan, the lyre, the crown, the bull, they were all shining beautifully, fed by the dreams of the village. She felt a pleasant tiredness in her bones, a satisfying weariness. The candle flame guttered softly. The tick of the clock seemed to be saying, "Rest now, rest now, rest now." She didn't fight it. She pulled a soft, knitted blanket over her legs, its wool warmed by the lingering heat of the fire. Her eyes grew heavy, lulled by the steady rhythm of the universe she helped maintain. She wasn't the keeper of the starlight tonight. Tonight, she was just Alara, a woman in a cottage, being gently pulled into the very dreams she helped create. The last thing she saw before her eyes closed was the silvery crescent moon, smiling down at her, watching over its own keeper, as she drifted into a deep, peaceful, and well-earned sleep. The clock ticks on. The stars twinkle. The moon shines softly. And now, it is your turn to rest. Let your thoughts be gentle. Let your breathing be slow. Listen to the quiet rhythm of the night, and drift away into your own peaceful dreams. The keeper is watching over you. Good night. The bell above the door of Seraphina's Curiosities and Comforts didn't so much ring as it sighed, a soft, weary chime that seemed to absorb the noise of the world outside rather than announce an entry. It was a sound that perfectly matched its keeper. Seraphina was a woman woven from twilight and spider silk. Her back was a gentle curve, a question mark etched by 8 decades of bending over books and bottles. Her hands, a roadmap of blue veins and delicate bones, could, with a tremor that came and went like a shy guest, thread a needle or uncork a vial of the darkest molasses without spilling a drop. The shop was a living entity, breathing the scents of dried lavender, beeswax, lemon polish, and the faint, mysterious aroma of forgotten drawers. It was crammed, but not cluttered. Every item existed in a state of poised readiness, as if waiting for the exact moment it would be needed. Jars of pearlescent buttons sat beside baskets of hand-whittled darning mushrooms. Quills from long-dead geese lay next to bottles of ink that shimmered with undiscovered colors. There were books with spines so cracked they seemed to be laughing, and others so pristine they held their secrets tight. It was not a shop for those in a hurry. It was a place for the lost, the broken, and those looking for something they couldn't name. On a Tuesday that smelled of impending rain, a young woman named Alara pushed open the door, its sigh mirroring her own. She was in her late 20s, her face pale with a city-weary exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. She moved with the hesitant gait of someone who felt they were perpetually in the way. "Hello?" she called out, her voice swallowed by the thick velvet drapes and towering shelves. From behind a counter piled high with spools of ribbon, Seraphina emerged, her eyes the color of a winter sky, surprisingly bright in her wrinkled face. "A customer," she stated, not as a greeting, but as a simple, rare fact. "Or are you lost, my dear?" Alara gave a weak smile. "A bit of both, maybe. I just moved into the flat above the bakery. Mrs. Higgins said you might have, well, I need a teapot. But not just any teapot, one that feels like home." She flushed, realizing how silly it sounded. Seraphina didn't laugh. She merely nodded, her silver bun catching a sliver of light from the dusty window. A teapot is a serious thing. It is the heart of the kitchen. It witnesses the dawn, the late-night worries, the shared gossip. It must be chosen with care. Come, she led Alara on a winding path through the canyon of her wares. They passed a stuffed owl with knowing glass eyes and a cabinet filled with miniature porcelain dogs. Finally, in a corner warmed by a stray sunbeam, was a collection of teapots. This one is sturdy, but it whistles like a cranky old man, Serafina said, pointing to a robust brown pot. This one is beautiful. Her finger hovered over a delicate china piece painted with roses. But it has a crack near the spout. Alara learned that the shop was more than a business. It was a sanctuary. People from the village came not just to buy things, but to talk. Old Mr. Abernathy came in every Thursday to look at the collection of pocket watches. He didn't want to buy one. He just liked to hold them and listen to their ticks, each a different rhythm, a different heartbeat. He'd lost his wife a year ago, and the silence in his house was too loud. A young, flustered mother named Sarah came in one afternoon, on the verge of tears. Her newborn wouldn't stop crying, and she hadn't slept in days. Serafina didn't sell her a thing. She simply sat her down in a worn armchair in the corner, gave her a cup of chamomile tea, and held the baby for 20 minutes, humming a tune so old it sounded like the wind. The baby calmed. Sarah left looking like a different person. Alara watched Serafina listen to people's stories, her old, wise eyes absorbing their pain and their joy. She never gave direct advice. Instead, she would say things like, "I have a blanket here that is very good for hiding under until the storm passes," or, "This pen has very bold ink. It might help you write that letter you've been thinking about." The glistening jar remained on its stand, untouched, its light a constant, gentle pulse in the dim shop. Alara found her eyes constantly drifting towards it. One quiet afternoon, as they were polishing silver, she gathered her courage. "Serafina," she began. "The jar. You said it was waiting for its story to be finished. What did you mean?" Serafina paused, a tarnished spoon in her hand. She looked at Alara for a long time, as if weighing her worth. Finally, she sighed, a sound like pages turning. "Every object in this shop has a story. A memory imprinted upon it. Joy, sorrow, love, anger, they all leave a residue. My gift, or my curse, is that I can feel them. I find the objects that are lost, and I give them a home until they are ready to find a new person to make memories with." She gestured around the shop. "This locket yearns for a young heart to keep a new secret. This walking stick is eager for one more adventure. I am a matchmaker of sorts. And the jar?" Alara pressed. "The jar is different," Serafina said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It does not hold a memory. It holds a promise. A fragment of a story that was interrupted. A love that was declared but not fully lived. A dream that was dreamed at the very moment the dreamer took their last breath. It is pure, unconsummated potential. It is waiting for the right person to come along, to add their own story to it, to complete the circuit, so to speak." "How? How would someone do that?" "By needing it," Serafina said simply. "By having a hope so large, or a love so true, or a dream so vivid, that it resonates with the promise inside. The jar would choose them. It would respond.